Bruce Schubert.
Okay. All righty. I take it we don't have any public comments, so on to our informational items. Let's receive some donations, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
No questions about that. And monthly financial reports. Does anybody have any questions about the monthly financial reports? No? Okay. All right. So we're right on to the request for special education. So that would be Dave, right? Okay.
We do have a request for 3 emergency one-to-one teacher assistants. And those are at, Brady Elementary, Cowherd Elementary, and East Aurora High School.
All right. I know they are in need. How are we going to fill these positions this late in the year?
Well, we'll post for them. And if we're not able to fill them through the posting, then we will have to request through our contracted agencies for some emergency authorization for the one-to-ones, because those are the most pressing based on the student's IEP, would be the first line that we need to fill.
Is our contracted company pretty good about sending people?
Typically, yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
So I just have a question. So these kind of just pop up because we have kids that need it and we can't, I guess, plan for this, right?
They'll pop up for several reasons. Sometimes it would be a student who moves in with a one-to-one on an existing IEP. It may be a student who is in need of it for a medical reason or another reason. Those can vary. It may be a decision by the IEP team at the individual school that the student is in need of a one-to-one. But those are usually reserved for students who have a different level of need and support within the educational environment for them to be successful within the school.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Okay, no problems with those. So on to your next request. I think that's you also, Dave, correct?
Correct. Overload requests. There are 2, and these overload requests are based on 2 FMLAs. One is for a special education class at Cowherd Middle School, and the other is for a special education class at for a teacher at Waldo Middle School. And again, both are teachers who are out on FMLA leave, and we need the overload with a teacher with an LBS1, which is a special education endorsement, so that students can get the necessary minutes for their IEP, which allows us to not have to go back and provide what we call compensatory minutes, which would actually cost us more in the long run rather than doing an overload.
Okay. All right. No issues with those? Anybody have any questions? Okay. All right. And we don't have.
Sorry, Ned, I do have a question. So these are full-time for good, or just, I'm looking at the dates here, 10. This is a full-time job permanently, or when the kid graduates or moves on, we don't keep them? How does that work?
I'm sorry, could you repeat? I couldn't hear that.
Oh, so, yeah. So this one-to-one, is it a part-time thing for this school year, or does it go to next year, or how does it work?
So typically the one-to-one will be in the student's IEP, depending on it kind of depends on their IEP status. So a student will typically go and have a review each year. And so the request would last particularly, for at least a year until they do what's called an annual review.
Okay.
And they'll look at the student's needs and determine if that support needs to continue or if some of that support needs to be scaled back. And so that gets reviewed on a yearly basis. And sometimes you'll see that it's what's called every 3 years, they review that IEP in totality. So it could be done at each of those points. So every year the parent has a meeting and it's reviewed and they review those supports, but then every 3 years, all of those services are reevaluated for the IEP in a comprehensive fashion.
So when we hire this person, they know that it's a potential short-term job, or?
It would certainly, we look at it on a year-to-year basis.
Okay.
But I would also just add the number of teachers' aides that we have in the classrooms. there's quite a bit of turnover with that, and there's always additions. So if for some reason a one-to-one aide, that student had an IEP meeting and they were going to release the one-to-one aide, we would be able to find another spot for that person.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Okay. So if there isn't not anything else, I think we should adjourn, correct? Okay. So we are going to adjourn. So we will adjourn the meeting at 5:39. Okay.